Welcome back. You're listening to WSB Stony Brook. You just heard the latest album from Thorn. It had 7 tracks. It recently came out in October. Now I'm joined by 2 of the members in the band. They're talking all the way from Switzerland. How about you guys introduce yourselves and tell us a bit about the history of the band and the project?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Julian. I'm the keyboarder of the band. And with me, I have Josh over here.
Yep. Hey, guys. I'm Josh. I play bass and write lyrics for the band.
What's the local scene like in Switzerland? For people in the U.S. who are listening, have no clue what's it like over there.
It's pretty small, but it's very familiar because everybody kind of knows each other. I mean, Switzerland's a very small country. You can get from one side to the other within a couple of hours. So everybody goes kind of to the same concerts. And, everybody knows each other in some way. So it's very familiar, yeah.
What I think is kind of interesting about your area is that there's just so much different genres of kind of metal clashing with each other, and you just have all this variation. Like in America, it's not as diverse as kind of what it is like in Europe. All right, so let's start talking about some shows you played recently. I believe in December, right? You guys played for All That Remains.
Yes, that is correct.
So what was that experience like playing with kind of a high-tier artist like those guys?
Well, it was a pretty cool experience. We were all really excited when we heard about it because it's not every day that you can open up for a band like All That Remains. I mean, they are kind of legends in the metalcore scene. But it was very cool. I mean, we knew the people from Metal Mayhem that called us and booked us and everything. He's a really cool dude. He was the same guy that asked us to play for him in summer. And, I mean, they were cool. We didn't have too much contact with with the band itself. I mean, it's not like they said, yeah, you can't come and see us. Not at all. But it's just, they're
busy.
On tour. You kind of have to respect that, give them their space and everything. We just kind of said hi, and we did our thing.
Yeah.
But still very cool. Awesome show.
Watching those guys play, do you take anything from their performance and kind of bring into yours?
Well, I think All That Remains is a band that has already played for several years now, and the sort of professionalism that they bring with them is something I think we can adapt to and take over in our shows. It's just, when you see them on stage with every song they play, they just seem really content with themselves and they know what they are doing. Of course, that's experience as well.
Yeah.
But I think just being on the stage and enjoying oneself is something that we try to do already as a band. We try to focus on that. But I think pulling in the crowd as well is something that they did really well. I think this is one point in which we can improve. It's really hard in Switzerland sometimes because the stereotype is true a bit that Switzerland is a bit more of a country of reserved people. And so in the beginning, because we opened up and there were I think 40, 50, 60 people there for us. And it was a bit hard to get the crowd going, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And by the time All That Remains played, of course, everyone knew them and everyone listened to them in their childhood. And the people were more pumped then, and they did really well with the crowd. And I think that's something that we can take away from that gig.
Especially kind of the exposure aspect and showing kind of people may not be physically into it, they could be mentally into it, and kind of playing shows like that, just the exposure, like you said, you played in front of 60 different people that may have never heard of you before, so it must be cool kind of sharing your art in front of all these new faces.
Yeah, that's true. I think what's important for me, or I think I speak here on behalf of the whole band, is not how many people there are, but more how much do they enjoy the music. And even if they don't physically interact with it. I think if I see maybe 1 or 2 smiling faces in the crowd, then that's like a big plus for me already.
So
yeah, we're all getting old. We can't always go into the circle pit.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So what's kind of interesting is that you guys are kind of in that progressive metalcore gen kind of subgenre, and that kind of area has been growing in kind of like the last 5 years or so, especially in places like Australia. You're getting more of it in America as well as, like the rest of the world. So why do you think people are kind of going towards this genre and playing more of it and pushing it out there?
It's hard to say. I mean, we just really enjoy playing it and listening to it, but not to like put it in the dirt, but I think it's also kind of like a hype in a way. That doesn't really make us sound too good, but I think there's just something about the style. It's just something new, a different taste to the classic metalcore that you knew, and it's a little more complex, but then again, it's like it's got this more atmospheric sound to it. It's a very diverse genre. There's a little bit of everything in it, and the doors are kind of open for everything, I guess.
Kind of going off of that idea of kind of like the little bit more complexity to it, and kind of it's something new. Especially with like all the people, especially kind of like the millennials who've been listening to kind of like the 2010, 2012, like the 2008 metalcore. It gets older, it kind of gets old, and they're getting older and listening to the same thing, and kind of this genre kind of brings something new to the table, like you said.
Yeah, that's true. I think as well, maybe like Jen came up, I'd say in the last maybe 5 years or so, and I think it plays a bit into what you said, like the music from maybe like 2006 to 2012 was a bit of the same. And now like maybe this is just like in the middle or the beginning of a new era, and in 4 or 5 years the music will have changed again. But I think that's something that really like shows how professional a musician is. Take August Burns Red, for example. I think they've made music for over 10 years now, and every album I hear for them is a little bit different, but you still hear like you can hear one song or maybe like 30 seconds of a song and know, okay, that's August Burns Red, because they still keep their style, but they keep adapting to what the people want to hear, I think.
All right, so let's start talking about your latest release. It's a self-titled called Thorn. You guys released it back in October. So what is the writing process for that record like?
Well, it's you think it's really difficult in a 6-headed band, but it's actually really simple. Our guitar player, Patrick, he's kind of the machine that pumps the blood and everything. He's really crazy. He writes the guitar parts. He plays the piano. He's a really. He also knows how to play the drums really well. So he usually comes up with a pretty cool idea, and he'll present it to us. And him and Luca will like start with pre-production and stuff, and then we all sit together and we can give our input. Yeah, so we're kind of lucky in that way because everybody else can be lazy.
So you kind of build it from the ground up, kind of piece by piece, per se, instrument by instrument? Or do you guys kind of like jam out and try to find out what works?
Usually we have a pretty finished song. I mean, a lot still happens after that, but usually we have a song that...
kind of a backbone.
Exactly, the backbone, and we start jamming on that all together. And then a little later on, we add a couple bits and pieces, and when it starts getting serious, more stuff comes, and you'll realize, oh, maybe that would sound good too, and everything. But yes, the backbone's there, and it always kind of stays around that area.
For you guys, how much did you demo to kind of solidify your sound on this EP?
Not that much, actually. We released 2 singles beforehand, before we recorded the EP. And I think like after these two singles, we started writing on some new tracks, and it didn't take much figuring out. I think maybe because we as a band have a history. Three of our members, me included, played in another metalcore band for like 8 years prior to that.
Okay.
So we already
just have
know
all that writing experience.
Yes, exactly. And we know if we hear something, if we like it, and we want to write more of this, or maybe like Patrick, our guitarist, writes more of it. So it didn't take us that long to like figure out where we stand musically.
For this EP, were there any parts to it that you guys had difficulty tracking? Like whether it was like a guitar part or a vocal part?
Yeah, I mean, I think we struggled in every parts a little bit. I mean, it's for some of us, it's maybe not at first, but you're just not used to doing that. Like you usually just jam, and the thing is, everybody plays louder than the other, and you can't really hear each other so good. But it's really in the studio when you're recording the song that you notice, oh, I'm making mistakes. And yeah, I think everybody struggled a bit. I don't really want to point out anybody. No, but it went pretty well, I think, for our first EP. We're very happy with it.
Actually, fun fact, for two of the songs of our EP, when I've heard them with lyrics, it was the first time that I've heard them recorded, and like hearing really, really good what the lyrics are like. Because live, you always maybe hear yourself and the guitars and the drum, of course, but I didn't get to pay much attention to the lyrics. But when we got into studio, the song like completely changed for me, because I was always used to the instrumental part, and now there suddenly was like clear lyrics that I could hear of. So it was funny hearing it with like another aspect.
It's pretty interesting to hear kind of what an artist listens to during the making of a record. So what were some different albums during the writing process that kind of helped inspire this record?
Ooh, good question. I think we're all kind of listening to the same stuff, or at least with the idea what we want to do. I mean, we're big Northlane fans, we're big Era fans, we're big Architects fans, kind of, like everybody else, but it's just a matter of how you do it yourself. But I think, we all listen to that, and it's not that we want to sound like them, of course, but they're definitely there as an inspiration. Yeah.
So before we get to lyrics, what are some production aspects to this EP that people should kind of listen for, whether it's like a small guitar part, harmonies, or anything really?
Well, actually the whole thing in general, because we're, like I already mentioned, we're really proud with what came out in the end, and we really took our time with it too. We had like most of the songs a long time before, already around the Reminiscence and New Chance era, but it was important to us to be happy with the end result, because I think everything is so short-lived and you just toss something out there for the good of it. But we're pretty lucky that our drummer Luca has his own studio, so we could take our time there. He does a really great job. He mixed and mastered our first two singles, and then we recorded everything with him at our studio. And then we sent, which is the coolest part, we sent the songs up to Sweden, not Switzerland. We sent them up to Sweden, and it was mixed and mastered by Henrik Uth, and he's this really crazy producer. He's done Architects, he's done Bring Me the Horizon, he's done I Killed the Prom Queen. Like, dude's awesome. Really, we're so happy with how it sounded, with how it came out. Totally blasted us away.
All right, so let's go kind of into the lyrical content of the release. I picked out lines from each song, so when I tell you them, kind of give an idea of what they mean, but if you can't come up with anything, you can just kind of give the general idea of the song. That works too.
I'll try my best. We'll try our best.
All right, so the first track, Peace of Mind, I picked out the lines, distinguish what is right or wrong. In fact, we don't have to designate at all.
Well,
don't worry, I always pick out the tough ones.
no worries. Well, to protect myself a bit, I didn't actually write the lyrics to that song. No, but I can just speak for the song in general. It's just kind of reflecting social life, society these days, because everything's so short-lived. You focus on stuff that's like not important. Like everybody wants to be rich, everybody wants attention, and you just miss the important stuff, like with your friends and your family. Everybody's got their nose in their phone, right? And next to you, the best thing in your life happened, and you just miss it. You totally miss it. So that's kind of about that song. And it's just that we need to distinguish what is right or wrong. We need to focus on what's important and not what is, in 5-10 years, we're not going to care about that anymore, and we're going to regret it. And you don't want to live with regret, I guess. All
right, so the next song, Clarity, I picked out the lines, you chose the wrong path. It's not easy when no one notices you. A shadow under millions, a singularity like a needle in a haystack.
Well, that's a song that originally came from our singer, Ronnie, and I helped him kind of work on that. We worked on that together, and it's basically about this guy who kind of lost his path, not trying to get all too private here, and he was having a hard time, or he saw it in his own way. So he's like, why am I left alone? So that's kind of where that comes from. And then the song switches on the other side, kind of telling the story how everybody else sees it. He chose his wrong path. He got into some bad situations, and people were trying to help him, but it didn't really work out in the end.
All right, so the third song, Deep Blue, I picked the lines, I can hear the wind whisper, it tells us to bloom or we shall disappear.
Yeah, that song is kind of about, I guess, Mother Nature and kind of how we are taking care of the world right now, with all the bad pollution and whatnot that there is. And the problem is we know what we're doing wrong. It's just a matter of fixing it. And it's important for us to do so that the future, our kids or whatever, can live in a better place somehow. And it's kind of tough times now, it seems. All
right, so the next song, Prometheus, I picked the lines, our hypocrisy is what brought us here, the wars for peace only got us nearer.
Well, the song is kind of about how we take everything for granted and basically destroy everything in our path with wars, with greed and everything.
But that's kind of been kind of an overarching theme on the EP, I notice, especially.
Yes, that is so. It's very most of those texts are from me, so I kind of write similar stuff, but I guess that's how I feel about some things sometimes. But basically, people preach, but they're hypocrites about it. They do the contrary in the end, and that's not leading us to a good place, I believe.
All right, so let's get to the fifth track called Static Dream. I picked out the lines, my creator surrounded by thousands of thoughts, trapped in a world of nightmares. How can this be real? All doors are locked. There's no way out.
This is another song by our singer, Ronnie. And funny fact is, it's actually, he got inspired by a game. He was playing the Evil Within or something. I'm not sure. I actually had to ask him about it. And basically, he try to put himself in that situation, a person that cannot wake up from his nightmares. Everything is negative. Nothing is working out for him. So he kind of reaches out I wouldn't say to a god, but he tries faith and asks, "Hey, what is going on? Why won't this change?" A man kind of giving up, I guess, in a way.
All right.
Yeah.
So the sixth song, Black Sun, I picked out the verse. I shook the hand of God and looked him in the eye. He turned away in shame. And the devil showed his face. He laughed about and smiled and said, "You are nothing but a disgrace."
Yeah, I really like that song. Yeah, that's another one by me. And kind of the same situation again with people destroying this world. And it's basically like, I think I wonder if I can say it's kind of inspired by Architect's last album. With all our gods have abandoned us, and that's kind of basically what I'm writing about is, you finally find your creator, but then you find out, he's left you behind, and here comes the devil out laughing, and he say, "Yeah, it's all your own fault. You should have done better and not just hoped or prayed for it." I believe in doing things, not wishing for things, without getting into detail.
All right,
or without trying to sound like a bad guy.
All right, we're up to the last track, Enlightenment, Follow the Light. And I picked out the line, "Stop running and tell the truth. Show your face behind the mask and face the demons you've created. False hopes lead to ruin. Your actions brought it so far."
Well, that song is one by Romy that I helped him translate and everything. Basically, it's about a person who does bad to others, and in the end, it all gets back to him. Karma is a bitch.
All right. Well, I want to thank you guys for coming on air and talking about the latest EP. So before we go, how about you share your plans for 2019, as well as where people can keep up to date with you and find your music?
Well, for 2019, we're definitely going to try to play a couple more shows. We've already got some couple things looking good, maybe something internationally, hopefully, but we're writing again. We've got some pretty cool demos that we actually just listened to today, and we're really looking forward to that. If you want to keep up with us, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. You can find us there. We're on Bandcamp. If you want to download or even buy, that would be wonderful, even buy our EP and help us out a bit. You can find us on iTunes. We're on Spotify, on Bandcamp. Yeah, so we hope you keep up with us. We try to stay a little active. It's kind of tough, but
hopefully we'll see you here in America soon. Maybe one day.
Would be very cool. Hopefully one day, yes, that would be very cool.
All right, well, everyone, make sure to stay tuned for the rest of the show. Make sure to go check out Thorn on all social platforms, Facebook, Bandcamp, whatever. We're on everything.